And just, you have the right to say it. Yeah.
Small engine.
Right. Right. Well, and I always ask, like, hey, are you planning on doing an Airbnb?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
At least you get on
Yeah,
record saying one way or the
exactly.
other.
And I want to know. It's my city. It's in my area. I want to know.
Well, I can ask him. Life.
Okay. Yeah. No. Definitely.
Mo Life up in
Oh,
Diamond Head.
yeah. I've done a couple of, and you know what? I am gonna go. Yeah.
Those guys seem to be pretty good.
Yeah, I
They've
gotta
done
call
some
them.
work.
They've done a blower and a couple of lawnmowers for me. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Hey, Amy,
I would.
It's been so long since we've had everybody.
how are ya?
We got the whole family.
The whole
Oh,
family.
yeah, damn family.
Well, we're missing,
We're missing Clark.
Yeah, Mo Life. I got to do that
and we're
I was
missing.
assuming he was coming.
because it'll
Yeah.
be already seasoned. But I was hoping.
5:30.
Ask me.
Chop chop.
So I'm gonna put the generator on tonight. Oh,
You want to go?
I haven't told it's broken.
Is that? I was about to say.
Should be
I'm
pissed.
excited.
Doing some other stuff for him.
I thought it was gonna be Clark. I was like, we'd have everybody for another commissioner.
What we're down there?
Well, yeah, just a little more
Yeah.
in case people can't come.
Yeah, yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the Bay St. Louis Planning and Zoning Meeting of June 11th, 2025. We ask that you please silence all cell phones and electronics at this time. We're going to begin with a short prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father in heaven, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Give us unity of spirit even when our opinions differ. Help us to listen politely to other points of view and to remember that we are all a part of the same community. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path in the best interest of our city. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 299 Second Street LLC has been withdrawn if anybody was here for that. But our first item on the agenda is a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Agee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. First application is Steckel. Application for variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Susan Steckel. The applicants want to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new dwelling on the property. The applicants are requesting a 15-foot variance resulting in a 10-foot setback to the front yard. The property is located at 259 Washington Street, parcel number 149M-2-30-105.000, 275 3rd Ward, Bay St. Louis, and is zoned R2 Residential Two-Family District. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
My name is John E. Bazoo Sr. I represent Ms. Steckel. She lives in Memphis. And I reside at 315 Hoffman Lane in Waveland. And I also represent Procon Management, and we'll be building a new house. Currently, the existing house has been there since 1935, and it exists 9 feet from the front property line. It's about 4 feet from the west and about 17, 18 feet from the north. We have proposed that the house will be in compliance, more in compliance than the existing structure, which has been approved for demolition through the Historical Commission, which I sit on, by the way. And so we plan to demolish the house, reset the new house, which is a little bit bigger. This house, by the way, the existing house is about 700 square feet. The new house is going to be in compliance over 750 square feet plus a porch. And we plan to set it back 10 feet from the front. That's why the 15-foot variance at request on the front. And it'll be 8 feet from the left, which is the west, and it'll be 20'6" from the rear. So it's more in compliance than it is now. The option to renovate the house was explored, and that's been basically quashed. It's just beyond repair. So with that in mind, she's decided to build, and we gave her a price, and she's happy with that. She'd like to start as soon as possible. She's already put the plans in for permit. She's getting them under review. She's already spent have the money just to make sure she gets it. We've lost 4 weeks to ask for a variance that has been there since 1935. It's kind of a ridiculous request to ask for a variance when it's already not in compliance now, and we could have renovated the house as is. So the request is not unusual. All the properties in that block, of the 15 or so properties on that side of the block, with 60-foot wide properties, most of them are 10 feet or less away from their front property. Now, there are some that are newer houses that were set back to 15, but none of them are 25.
Right.
So, and if we don't get this variance, you'll have to grant me a variance for the rear to push it back. So I have to get a variance one way or the other. If you do not give the 15-foot variance in front, then I have no place to go
Right.
for the size.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners? Do we have anyone signed up to speak? Or do you? Yes, sir. Say your name and address.
Brian Schneider, 108 3rd Street in the Bay. I have no objection to the variance because it does line up with everything else on Washington Street, but I'd just like to, for the record, ask the question whether this will be a residence or a rental, and if it's a rental, whether it be long-term or short-term. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider.
Ms. Steckel, who is my client, is definitely gonna make it her residence. She lives in Memphis. She's a widow twice and is longing to come back to Bay St. Louis. She used to come to this house as a child, and she's got every intention to own this house and not rent it out.
Sounds great. And Ms. Warner, did you want to speak on this application?
I am very pleased that they're going to do something. This has been the neighborhood eyesore for years. It has been so, they at least pulled all the dead stuff off. It was completely covered with all kinds of vegetation. So, and actually the 10-foot frontage is pretty much what it is right now. They're basically going to redo, but where the building sits right now is very close to the road, and it pretty much lines up with everything else on Washington. So,
Right.
all for it.
Well, if there's no other comments or questions from the commissioners or the audience for Mr. Bazoo,
Would you?
are you here for Steckel? Do you want to speak? He's like, nope, you blindsided me. Okay.
Martin, you can sit down, Martin. So we will be more in compliance because we'll be 10 foot instead of not, it exists right now 9 feet.
Yes.
And
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Cranky. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Romano. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Oh,
thank you
too much.
very much.
Please be present at the next city council meeting Tuesday, June 17th at 5:30 p.m. That broke my phone line.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The next application is Murphy, application for a variance to the parking requirements of the zoning ordinance submitted by Christina Murphy. The applicant intends to demolish the existing building and construct a new building. The applicant is requesting to be allowed 9-foot by 18-foot parking spaces to the required parking space size of 10-foot by 20-foot for new business construction. The property is located at 1151 Highway 90, parcel 137L-0-35-007.000, part 2nd Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned C3 Highway Commercial Business District. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Christina Murphy, 5823 Marigny Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. Like the paper said, I'm requesting a variance for the parking lot sizes to be 9 by 18 instead of the regular 10 by 20. I just bought this lot maybe a month ago, and I intend to build a laundromat on it. And the shape of the lot is a little bit awkward. It's surrounded by 3 streets, and then there's a 25-foot setback from the highway, so then that makes the lot even smaller. So it really limits the size of the building I can build if I have to do the 10 by 20 versus the 9 by 18. The 9 by 18 really does give me a significant amount more space to do just a little bit more of the building. And that's really it. That's really all I'm requesting.
And just so everyone knows, 9-foot by 18-foot is a standard parking size space that just City of Bay St. Louis over time has increased to 10 foot by 20 because there's so many larger pickup trucks and stuff like here. So if there's any questions for Ms. Murphy from the commissioners, I do have, wait,
Can I just make a comment?
yes, sir.
The standard F-150 is between 17.4 feet and 20.5 feet. So you would preclude proper parking for the most popular vehicle manufactured in the country. It seems to me like a recipe for not happiness.
Not greatness. Yeah, I actually, we did talk about this with my contractor, and the laundromat's goal is to be about 50% wash and fold, and there's actually a drive-through on the layout if you look at it. So while there's not a lot of parking, even if we do the full size 10 by 8, 10 by 20, I can only fit 5, which is the minimum requirement for the number of machines that I'd like. I still can only fit 5 even if I do 9 by 18, but again, the goal is to have most of the business be like drive-through wash and fold. So I'm comfortable with my business plan to limit the parking sizes to forego, for more wash and fold business versus self-service.
Right, but if your lots are only 18 feet deep and somebody shows up with a Ford F-150, they won't be able to park there.
Or they'll have to take up too much space and block 2 spots.
Well, you can't make the truck shorter.
Right.
Are all the spots gonna be of the same size, or will you have an opportunity to make 1 or 2 larger?
The way the architect has it laid out right now, they would all be the same size. That would include 1 handicap parking, but they'd all be 9 by 18.
What's the backup distance from the parking, like from the space?
Between spaces,
Yeah.
there's 25 feet in between, because there's 4 regular on one, and then there's handicap on the other, and in between is a full 25.
You can do that. That'll work. That'll work getting out, even if they stick out a little bit. That'll work. I don't.
And I would just like to say, like, I know sometimes we have site plans come in with variances and stuff. Before they started spending money on this, I said, I had grave concern that I know traditionally parking variance, like, was it 315 Main Street?
Mm-hmm.
It was originally, they had 2 parking variances. Either we get you the 20 by 10 parking spots, or we could make them smaller and get 23 parking spots that required. And I want to say y'all, this commission, not y'all individually, said, we'd prefer the parking size over the amount of parking spaces, because if anybody remembers back then. So
Yeah.
before she started spending money on it, I was like, make sure you have the park, you'd be able to get that granted, and then if not, then you can alter plans from it.
Yeah. I mean, I still agree with that sentiment. I'd rather her get the business and the business be the best that it can be, and the
Yeah.
right size is not too tight inside. Basically, Lewis is one of the only cities that has the 10 by 20 is Waveland. I'd understand if it was like a downtown business and new and tons of parking, but with the way people coming in and out, such a mixed schedule, it's not like a set amount of time that, not everyone's going to go at 9 a.m. to wash their clothes. So it'd probably be in and out more flexible. And I know you can make it with the turning radius, having that much backup space. You
In
should be
addition to
okay.
that, Jeremy, talking about Main Street versus the highway.
Yeah.
And
Right.
different business model.
Yeah.
Long-term stays.
Gotcha.
I did not have anybody signed up to speak, but if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against the application, you're welcome to. I'll entertain a motion if there's no other questions, comments.
Motion to deny.
There's been a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Support.
Second by Mr. Agee. Is, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay. So, motion passes and the application fails 4 to 2, no, 3 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, but please be present at the next city council meeting. That's Tuesday, June 17th at 5:30 PM, and it'll be in this room.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 299 Second Street has been withdrawn. The last application is Terrio, application for variance to the zoning ordinance submitted by Shane Terrio. The applicant has constructed an 8-foot privacy fence. The applicant is requesting a variance of 2 feet to the fence height requirement, resulting in an 8-foot fence. The property is located at 321 St. George Street, parcel 149F-0-29-177.000, part 375, First Ward, Bay St. Louis. The property is zoned R2 residential 2-family district.
And just before I get started, I think it's in y'all's packet somewhere. Just to be clear, and we've had this in the past,
He's looking because he's like, she don't like 8-foot fences.
the fence is already constructed. So
Yeah.
if y'all have pictures in there,
Yeah.
it's already it's with an unpermitted 8-foot fence.
I think I sent everybody. the
Yeah.
packet. Yeah.
They have a lot of exhibits, but
Yeah.
It's a full packet.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, if you could state your name and address for us.
Shane Terrio, 321 St. George Street. I reside there. That's my residence. That's not a Airbnb or anything like that. We're there all the time. So I had a 6-foot fence previous to the addition of the making an 8-foot fence, right? And it wasn't intentionally an 8-foot fence. I just went around with a tape measure. If you look at all of the documents I sent, I just went around with a tape measure, seeing whose windows can see inside my fence or inside my home or inside my windows or, or whatnot. And I just came up with a number and decided to go that high. So
So just the louvered part is 2
it's
feet?
the louvered part. The louvered part is 2 feet. Yes, ma'am. And some places are like 7 foot 4 inches. Some places are
Right,
7
right.
foot 9 inches. It's not 8 foot all the way across the board, right?
And when did you construct this fence?
Probably about a month ago,
Okay.
more or less a month ago.
So is
Yeah.
part of it 2
You
feet?
constructed the add-on.
The add-on.
Yeah,
That's
a
it.
month ago.
So I had a really, to start with, I had a really rinky-dink, wooden fence with 4x4s every 10 feet that was just about falling, right? It was dilapidated. So I'm like, well, I need a little privacy, but I also need to reinforce this fence.
It's
So I
just
went back with 4x6s.
the gray portion?
That's the original fence. The gray,
But this is all yours?
That's correct.
And you've added
Yes, ma'am.
louvers all the way
Yes, ma'am.
around? That's not your neighbor's?
yes, ma'am. They have a picture of it on there as well.
Yes. Sorry. Any questions first for Mr. Terrio? Any other
So the
questions?
grade is actually 6 foot.
The gray is actually 6 foot,
And
or
the
maybe
green-
even less than
Yeah.
6 foot.
Okay.
It may be even less. And that was kind of rinky-dink, it would blow in the wind, right? So I'm like, well,
let me go and show them this is the one. 'Cause they had
maybe you can show them what it looks like now. Yeah.
This is his house.
Right,
That's the privacy fence, and that was added.
right,
on.
right.
So I know it's all, yeah, that's the one. So it's
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
the one that
And it's not,
this is the one
it's
that-
not
that's the
obstructing
house
any
that's
view
added on.
or.
That
You probably only see
I'm
about
talking
12.
about vehicle-wise,
You probably only see about 12 foot of the fence, to be honest with you.
Right,
Because
from
the
the
front,
street.
the front section is all you ever gonna see is that one front section
Right.
from the street, right? But that front section from the street is an important section because directly across, if you read the notes, directly across the street from me, there's a house with a 2-story window, right? And again, I have women and children and everyone swimming in my pool, playing in the backyard, and these people, sometimes they're in that window just staring out the window, sometimes they're not, right? And I have a 6-foot fence, but my house is elevated 2 feet, and my neighbor's house is elevated 2 feet, which realistically makes it a 4-foot fence, right? So when they're on their porch, they can see inside, see everywhere. I like my privacy, and I think it's beautiful. The way I constructed it, I rode around town, and if you look at some of the pictures of other 8-foot fences within just a couple of blocks of me, mine's probably the best looking 8-foot fence you're gonna see, right? I looked around trying to get ideas, I try to get ideas, and that's what I ended up with. So,
I'm your neighbor, Mr. Terrio, and I noticed it, and I
Oh, who's-
questioned
oh.
whether it was,
Did you narc on him? Who narked on him?
I didn't narc on him, I saw it.
yeah, was it you?
That's what I'm
'Cause
wondering. I'm like,
this is what I
all
heard
in
at
the
8 o'clock in the
backyard.
morning.
Down the street, and my wife says, "Did you approve that?" I said, "No, I've never seen that before. Must've been the."
No, but our
I kn-
And to
our
be-
code.
And I don't find it objectionable.
And to be honest, I just figured I had the fence footprint already.
Yeah.
And I saw the
Yeah.
fences around the neighborhood, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'll throw it up in a week, and
And it's
Yeah.
not
Here we are.
personal. I agree. It looks very nice. I'm just so against 8-foot fences.
the
I
best.
just
And I do
feel like
intend to
should
paint
be-
it.
I understand.
you
Yeah.
know, but
No,
listen,
it looks very nice.
and I understand that you're against it, but when I'm on my back porch,
And
I
my
know
neighbor's
we
on his
had,
back porch.
yeah, privacy.
And my
issues.
back door neighbor actually said, "I'm so glad you're doing this, because when I'm on my back porch, you can see me, I can see you, I don't want to see everybody."
Yeah. And
We used to
that's-
have a big line of trees, right? Like all kind of trees and all different things, and my neighbor ended up, what he did?
Can I?
thinning them
And that
out,
being
killing
said,
them.
I did have some letters that several people signed in support.
Yes, ma'am. That's all neighbors, most all my neighbors down my street.
Let me read the letter and then I'll read to everybody who signed it. It said, "I'm signing this letter to address the recent addition of a 2-foot extension to the fence at 321 St. George. I believe this enhancement not only provides additional privacy, but also significantly contributes to the overall aesthetic appeal of the property. The extension has been thoughtfully designed and constructed to complement the existing surroundings, adding a decorative element that enhances the beauty of the entire yard. Once painted, this addition will further integrate into the landscape, creating a more polished and cohesive appearance that adds value to the property and the neighborhood as a whole." Miss Catherine Lozano?
That's my neighbor right across the
Is
street.
it Lozano? Cammy, or 121 Ingman. Doug Netherland, 319 St. George.
My neighbor right here.
James Kimball, 121 Ingman. Lloyd Boudreau, 408 St.
That's his neighbor.
George. And Scott Lemoyne, 500 Riverview Drive. And Shane LeBlanc, 137 Main Street. I do have some sign up to speak as well. Mr. Netherland, did you want to come up and say something?
And those individuals that signed those papers, I handed them this packet. And I didn't know if you guys got it, so I brought a bunch of them, and what I did was I handed them the packet after they looked at the packet they signed.
All right, thank
Because
you.
I didn't expect anyone
No,
to
I
write their own
appreciate
letter,
that.
you know?
Appreciate you talking to your neighbors.
Good evening, I'm Doug Netherland, 319 St. George. Shane and I actually share a driveway or park spot together. I was not close to the park. But I was there under construction. He was out of country, so I watched this guy build a fence. And he did have a hard time shoring what he's talking about, shoring that old fence up to make everything fit good and withstand wind and all that. So this fence is very well built. And I can tell you from experience from just walking in his back door, it actually was an eyesore because he has a neighbor that has a storage facility in the back. It was real high, really needs to be replaced, you know.
Right.
But, you know, I know me personally, walking in and seeing that. But they've done a very good job at this. And so I'm all in favor of it. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you.
Netherland. Mr. Bob Gowland? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Bob Garland, 327 St. George. Ironically, I was passing by the house. I'm right down the street, and I was passing by his house, and I stopped by. I said, "Look at this, how nice it looks." He really did a good job in putting the extra 2 feet. Put probably a few extra dollars in it. And all I can say, I have no objections whatsoever, and I think it adds to the overall appearance of the neighborhood, plus gives him privacy and his neighbors privacy.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Lloyd Boudreau.
Lloyd Boudreau, 408 St. George. I pass by there almost every day, 2 or 3 times a day on my golf court. It not only accents, but it's security too. Because short as I am, I could reach up and, you know, get on, climb the fence, a 6-foot fence. I can't do that. You know, so the only thing I'm saying is I don't have a problem with it. I like it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against?
I'm sorry. Therio?
Yeah, that's
You say it Therio, is that pronounced right?
Terrio. Yeah, if
Did
you
it ever
call me.
dawn on you that maybe you might have looked at an ordinance and asked for permission ahead of time?
I did not.
Yeah.
You know, we've been looking at this, and I'm like, I need to do this, and again, drove around looking at all the other fences. I'm like, well, everybody else got one. I'm gonna put one up too.
Well,
you know?
And not to just go say, and then it's something we hear in the building department all the time. He is from South Louisiana, and not every municipality requires people to get building permits for fences. there's some that don't even require
Or
for
pools, yeah.
for pools or roofs either, unless you're doing a
In
whole report.
irrigation, we have to get a.
And I live in the
permit.
country, I got
So
15 acres in
not
Louisiana.
not
I
to
don't-
say like obviously it's wrong,
It
but they're
doesn't
like
make it right.
legitimately
Yeah.
pleading the ignorance. Actually, sometimes it's like we never had to do this where we live, and I'm like, I looked it up, and they're not lying. They really don't.
The thing of it is everybody in Bay St. Louis basically wants privacy. You get so many people who come in here who say that they want an 8-foot fence. I want an 8-foot fence, but I mean, it's just our bylaws, you know? It is definitely, I like the addition, but it's like, to me, if we go and say like, this is okay, everybody else who wants an 8-foot fence, everybody else who wants privacy, everyone else who doesn't want to look at their neighbors or whatever, they're going to want the same thing, you know?
Well, I'm gonna ask an amateurish question. You know, what is the fallback if we don't approve it and the city doesn't approve it? You have to tear it down? Is
I
that-
mean, I hate to do that,
Stop
but
work?
there's so many people who had to cut down, those 2 feet before. We've had that happen. I mean, there's multiple people who's been hit with a stop work order. I mean,
Did you have
it's
to?
what's good for the
What
goose
about
is
all
good
the
for
ones that are
gander.
already existing? If I have to take mine down, so if I take mine down, all of these addresses that I listed, will we go back and ensure that each one of these other fences are torn down?
So,
Well, what you're gonna hear is something you don't like. Those-
I'm just asking.
Those may have been approved.
Yeah.
Or
In fact, we approved
Alright.
one 2 months ago.
they're
I don't know.
grandfathered.
yeah, and then
That's
some,
crazy.
and
They wanted
some
a
of those-
10-foot.
the ordinance
On
that we're
St. George.
operating from now, it's 2017, but 2010 is when it was pretty much originally adopted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the ordinance was previous from 2010, so that might have been
I don't know that we
pre-existing
had one.
non-conforming. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, and
Well,
and again, I'm not even trying to make it about eyesores, but if you ride down my street, you look at my neighbor's house.
I do often.
I'm telling you.
Can I make a comment too?
Yeah.
I agree that it's a good-looking 8-foot fence. It's an 8-foot fence.
Right.
It's not allowed, straight up. The issues that you brought up, privacy and everything else, is the same issue that every other property owner in the city has. If you want privacy, you go to the Kill or you go to rural Hancock County. The nature of the beast is that if you're gonna live in the city, you're gonna give up a certain amount of privacy. I'm pretty sure that when you bought the property, you looked across the street and you saw that there was a 2-story house there. You probably looked to the other side and you said, hey, I can see their windows. So, while I'm sympathetic, and I think you've done a really nice job, it ain't allowed, and it's not allowed for a reason, because if we let this one go, suddenly we're gonna have 8-foot fences
Right.
in the entire city, and it's gonna look like that game you used to play with the kid with the cornfields, you know? So,
So what do we do about the other one, the other 8-foot fence?
Well, that is something that I think needs to be brought up with the city, but I mean, today we're like ruling on this one, and it's not fair. And like I said, everybody wants an 8-foot fence, like it's privacy. I literally live on Washington. There's F-150s passing around my house all the time. I can't walk out into my backyard or do anything without somebody probably looking over my, fence. I have a 6-foot fence. It's unfortunate, but like he said, if you live in a city, that's kind of the rule of the game.
Yeah, honestly, I never really, again, I live in the country.
Right.
I never lived in the city before. I never lived downtown before. I never lived anywhere before. I have a farm, I have horses.
Yeah.
If I need a fence, I build a fence. I mean, I just, like I said, it wasn't even about the 8-foot. I just went with a tape measure and looked and see what I had to do. So,
Yes, can you come up to the mic, because it's being streamed, just so we can hear you, if you don't mind.
My own information, I live right down the block. I have a privacy issue too, but what criteria does the commission use on approving one or not approving one?
I don't approve any.
I mean, that's kind
So-
of pick and choose.
so I
That's
can-
kinda- no.
Well, I can answer one thing because I recently got a fence built. So when I went and asked for approval to build this fence that I just built probably in December, I was presented with a book because I even asked the same thing. Why can't I have a 8-foot fence? Right? They presented me with a book. What is the name of the book?
It's the zoning ordinance.
But it's also a book that also says that in certain cities in Mississippi, because I read it, that you cannot exceed over a 6-foot fence. And we are one of those cities who adopted that ordinance. It's certain structures and what else?
Yeah.
in
and-
there.
Yeah, so she wanted an 8-foot fence. Like
Yeah.
She did so bad. And she looked at the rules and
I-
says, in my backyard, I can have a 6-foot. And she's like, well, it's my front yard setback. That I got to say, like, she.
Yeah,
the vote said-
I sympathize. I don't want to make it seem like I don't feel for you.
Yeah.
I literally put the city through so much stuff trying to prove why I should have an 8-foot fence, and they came back and slapped me back to back with everything. There's like no way getting around it, and like I said, I just feel like it would be so unfair for us to go and say it's okay, and then the city has their own bylaws, and we have to uphold those.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but
I know it's unfair.
as a resident, I just think that's kind of unfair. I'm not saying he's right or wrong for him. He can support some and deny others.
And that's the same thing that I
They got
feel
to
too.
get some
And-
consistency.
and- well,
Disapprove all of them or approve all of them.
And just for the record, and I think for anybody, this is a recommendation body. So this is the public hearing, so everybody could have input. And obviously, the city council is going to go listen to this and see notes that they have people of support. And they may or may not send it to a recommendation of approval or denial, but the city council is actually the one that is a yes or no. This is a recommendation body plus the public hearing. So next Tuesday, when it goes before city council, I can't speak off term, but I feel as if there's been times where it has been denied here and overturned at city council.
And
I'm not,
and vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, you're right or
Right.
wrong. I'm just saying, trying to get some consistency and understand the
Points
consistency.
Right.
well taken.
And I
Yeah,
understand your situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was so hard, she got on the board.
She was
on
like,
the
I'm
board.
changing
I,
this.
yeah, and I was on the board when this whole thing was happening. Like I said, I
Yeah.
feel
We
for
are.
you, but and they put me through stuff, and I'm here.
I get it. I understand.
If there's no other comments or, yes, ma'am, Ms. Warner. Oh, were you signed up? too? Yeah, go ahead, yes.
There's an easy answer. It's called a green fence. You can plant bamboo, you can plant Elaeagnus, there's all
Good.
kinds of shrubs you can plant. Then you have a solid fence. You have beautiful greenery, you're cleaning the air. So that's your
That's a great
solution.
idea.
Plant a green fence.
A fast-growing one.
Right, that could be.
How tall can I plant green fence?
It's tall as it wants to grow. He can get topiaries. There's nothing against on Cena. Yeah.
But the
Not if you don't get the
bamboo,
run and you get
bamboo
the
is
clump.
a problem.
Yeah, well, that's, so actually my neighbors in the back, they had bamboo and they came and they got rid of all
You gotta
the
get
bamboo
other
because it's just so bad. It goes in the yard. It just goes all over. But I mean, I already feel the way this is going and I'm sorry about that, but I feel like I built the best, beautiful.
It
little
is.
extension you
It is
could
a nice
possibly
fence.
get and I guess it really, if it doesn't go through, it really upsets me that there's others with it, right? And that's the thing, right? So I think, I guess that's the biggest deal, right? Because when I rode around looking how to do this, I saw some, and I'm like, I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it. Here's my beautification idea, what I'm gonna do, right? And it looks lovely, absolutely lovely. And once I paint it white, it's gonna be beautiful. So that's all I got. And that's all I have,
Well, thank you.
I would ask for your support, but, we'll see where it goes.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Motion to deny by Mr. Agee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Brown. All those in favor?
Nay.
Aye.
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 Nay.
3-2. So the application fails, but please be present at the next city council meeting Tuesday, June 17th, 5:30 p.m. And that will be in this room as well.
June 17th?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
The last agenda item is a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Cranky, is there a second? Second by Mr. Romano, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.